Hey, welcome to the last part of my Q&A series. I got a lot more questions than I anticipated, and I rambled more than I anticipated, so I apologize for that. But we are on the LGBTQ section, and that's because I had just enough questions that I might as well put it in another video. So that's this. These are the LGBTQ plus questions. So here we go. Are you out to your parents? If so, how did you come out? Any advice for others still in the closet? I'm out, but they didn't take it well. My advice is always be safe. First and foremost, if you feel like you are in an environment where you will not be supported or that they could take love away from you, prioritize your safety. As for me, I could honestly do a whole video on my coming out stuff, but the TLDR is, I told them I liked girls, they said you're confused, I told them I was bi, they said no you're not, I moved across the country, I told them I was trans, they said you're confused and mutilating yourself, and I said bye. Disconnected for a year, went to the ER, had to call them for medical record stuff, tried to reconnect, didn't work, and they still dead named and misgendered me all the time, and no matter how much I tried to explain to them who I was, they just had selective memories. Didn't actually listen. They'd morph whatever I said into lies, and I changed my number, blocked their emails. It hurt, and it sucked, but it hurt so much more to stay in contact with people who insisted they knew me better than I knew myself. Also, they support Trump and follow toxic conspiracy theories, so I'm just staying away from that whole mess. Advice for trans youth / any advice for dysphoria? Find what things specifically give you dysphoria, be it physical parts of you or social patterns you notice that trigger those feelings, and find ways to forgive yourself for not being at peace with them. If you'd like to get on HRT or have surgeries down the line, they're expensive and they take a long time to see results, so I understand why they may not be for everybody. But I recommend either way, if you do or do not pursue those options, to dissect what gender and performing gender means to you. There are so many bodies on this planet, alive and past and here and decomposed, which have looked so many different ways. Most of which don't apply to every set expectation of what it means to be a man or a woman or a non-binary gender. There are people in history who were recorded as pretending to be a gender as opposed to simply being that gender. There are non-binary people in history of all sorts of different civilizations who have found peace with themselves without having everyone understand what it all meant. You don't have a boy's chin, or a girl's hips, or a man's voice, or a woman's mannerisms. You simply have your chin, your hips, your voice, your personality. And even if they don't match with how they should, they're yours, and your journey right now, regardless of where you end up, exists as an example to others that they don't have to live within those strict rule sets either. I'm not saying that you have to make peace with what you've got and deal with it, but I also don't want to make it seem like your only option is expensive surgeries or hard to obtain hormone therapy. Just know that there are so many ways to be trans, just as there are so many ways to be a person. Regardless of the path that you take to deal with your dysphoria, you're still a complete person in society, and being true to yourself can inspire others to do the same, and that's super powerful. How do you deal with people who misgender you or don't see non-binary as valid? I'm non-binary and I get this stuff all the time. I do too, I just don't deal with it anymore. It sucks when you're in school, in an environment where people are just going to be cruel for cruelty's sake and you're stuck around them, but once you're in adulthood and you can choose your company a bit more, it gets way easier. Nowadays, I give people chances, and I can tell when they're genuinely making mistakes versus intentionally misgendering me. If I detect that the misgendering isn't going away, then I go away. I don't have to waste energy on nurturing a friendship with someone who doesn't respect me. It's like continuing to water a plant that releases toxins into your home and is slowly killing you. There are plants better suited for your environment who are way more deserving of that support, love, and energy. If you could give yourself some advice at different points in your life, what would it be? Stop trying to be perfect, and focus on finding and setting your boundaries. You're never gonna please your parents, so instead, focus on pleasing yourself. Stop lying to people that you're okay when you're uncomfortable. You're worth so much more than you've been told to think you are. Life is so confusing and will always be confusing, but someday when you're out of the chaos, you will be able to find comfort in not understanding everything. It won't always feel like it is now, and you'll be surrounded by people who love and understand you for who you are. Keep making things, keep telling your stories, and keep allowing yourself to change. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be static. Human beings change, and you're not incomplete. If the moon can have phases and still be whole, so too can you. Anyway, thanks for listening, and if you like what you saw here today, maybe subscribe or whatever. I don't know. I feel like if you watched this, you already are. So thank you. Seriously.